My name is Bart Forbes. Hi. I was very happy to host this group. I was approached by Sean and Chris to see if we can do a forum under the auspices of COSCA, and I was delighted because that's what I believe the purpose of COSCA to do is to help our members connect to each other. So first off, I want to introduce Christine Conlon. She's the genealogist for Clan Buchanan. Chris started her genealogy trail after her mother's death in 1997. We're very sorry for your loss, but it spurred you on. She began by volunteering with Brigham Young University in Boston with their Immigration Ancestors Project. Afterwards, she worked with this group for a few years. Chris got involved with working with the New England Historic Genealogical Society. She's then joined the Clan Buchanan Society in America and has become the Clan and Society genealogist, regularly contributing articles for the quarterly Buchanan Banner, which I receive as a member now, and has built a standalone genealogy website, launched a Clan Buchanan and Sept's AT autosomal DNA project, and continues researching the Clan Buchanan family tree, which now comprises over 28,000 names. So impressed. The goal of Clan Buchanan Society International Genealogy Team is to build the most comprehensive and accurate sourced tree possible. Next, we have Sean Logan. He's the genealogist for Clan Logan. Sean retired from corporate life, I love retirement, in 2022, and he kicked off his post-retirement career don't we all, by putting together his family tree. While developing his genealogy skills, he was asked to take on the role of genealogist for Clan Logan Society International. In this role, Sean has created a clan genealogy site, rewritten the Logan Wikipedia page, and is now the manager of the Clan Logan page on Wikipedia. Go! In his role of genealogist, Sean is primarily focused on finding a living heir to one of the Logan chiefs of the name and arms, the Logans of that ilk. And to better hone his skills, John joined the Scotland people on Wikitree and has become an administrator of the Logan DNA Project, ever eager to increase his skill and grow the reputation of clan genealogists. Sean is hopeful that this community can come together for the benefit of all clans. And that is Chris and Sean, and I hand it over to the two of you.
Thank you. Chris, if you don't mind, I guess I'll get started and then let's tag team a little bit. Chris and I have been kind of communicating about what we want to get out of this session, and I just want to sort of set expectations. The goal of this session, we're keeping it pretty simple, which is this something we want to do? And if we do this, how do we want to do this in the future? This is not necessarily meant to be, let's go do this right now. So I'd like to have a little bit of planning and all of that before we do that. And many of you have helped. But just sort of to set the stage, as Bart said, I'm fairly recently retired, which I'm actually probably on here maybe one of the newer people to genealogy. But what I did was what I normally do, and anytime I take on something new, is I went out there and I looked for what training is there, what best practices are out there. Early on in doing this, I was lucky enough to meet Chris. And I was writing to different clans, and her chief was kind enough to get me in touch with her, and Chris was just fantastic about sharing information about what Clan Buchanan does, which, if you ever really want to see an impressive website, go on their website. It really is good. I've kind of stolen a bunch of that stuff. I've also gone on to, as Bart said, so that was motivation number one as far as doing this is the amount I got out of Chris and I working together. Motivation number two is I'm a member of the Scotland project on Wikitree, and I'm now a guide on the Tartan Trail. So if any of you ever want to get certified, you might run into me, and I'll be really mean and tell you about all the citations you did wrong and all that kind of stuff. But I learned a lot through that. And on there, I'm on actually a Discord page. Discord has its pros and cons, and people get nervous about it, but it's actually really good. I go on there for example, a couple days ago I went on there and I had this handwritten testament data from the 1700s, and I'm trying to get better at reading Roman numerals as they were handwritten, and it's really hard. But they've really kind of helped me out and helped me grow my learning. So we reached out to Bart and said, hey, let's all get together. Um, so that's sort of who I am and why I'm here. I'm not necessarily looking to be a leader of a giant group of clan genealogists and stuff like that, but I did want to see about was there interest in all of us getting together? So Chris, I'll handle it over to you before we start to ask the questions and go through the spreadsheet results. But if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I imagine that many people who are involved in genealogy as their clan or their clan society's genealogist got started for the same reason I did. And that was to try to break down my ancestral Buchanan brick wall. The son of a gun is still killing me. He's still out there. I'm still trying to figure out all of his details. But we come to this, I think, looking for our families, looking for our connections. We get involved. Maybe we do have an interest in the clan societies at large, or maybe we get that interest through searching through our genealogy. And I've talked with a few clan genealogists who have expressed similar laments in that their EC maybe isn't real supportive. They don't know what their job is supposed to be. They don't know how they're supposed to accomplish whatever it is. I've been very lucky. My executive council has been extremely supportive, and they put a little money where their mouth is. So we have an ancestry hosted family tree. The number that Bart mentioned, which is in my little bio, has now gotten much closer to 30,000 people, and they're mostly sourced. I'm sure, like Clan Buchanan, many of you have a lot of erroneous information floating around the internet. My goal is to create the most accurate and well-sourced family tree for Clan Buchanan and its 50 or so septs as possible. And to that aim, I work almost every day. This is my full-time position now. Like Bart, I retired around 2020, and this is what I do all day, every day. And we're hoping that people have questions, have interests, have information to share, expertise that we're missing. And that's kind of where I'm coming from with this.
Thank you. So I think what I'd like to do is go through the results of a poll that we sent out before we all got together. There were about 5 of you that responded, plus Chris and I have been sharing our ideas. And those of you who haven't, it's not too late. You're always welcome to respond to that email and send your results, or I'll try and capture what I can on this call today. We talked about what were people's expectations of getting together, what challenges are they facing, what are the preferred methods of getting together, and then I kind of, as far as if we wanted to use an online tool, what was the benefit of that? So the expectations, I mean, I can pretty much boil it down to 2 things in a sense, which is learning and exchanging of ideas. Some got more specific. Like me, some people use TNG as their website. Chris actually is the one that introduced me to TNG and then quickly went off and went on to Ancestry. But I don't regret being on TNG.
I had initially planned for that website, the TNG website, to be our end-all be-all, and it turned out to be more limiting than I realized that it would be initially. So now what it's actually turned into is our archive.
And so, yeah, Jim, I'll try and make sure I resend that to you. The So I mean, those were kind of the two main things. There's some people talked about standards. You know, Chris talked about making sure, you know, there's so much garbage out there. How do we make sure there's not garbage out there? I know I personally a little bit fortunate. I joined the society as we were in the search for a chief. We just nominated a commander, so I have a general view of what does the Court of the Lord Lion require as far as to prove. So I kind of think about that for every line. You know, if you want to prove that you're related to our barons, well, let's go through that same process. Uh, as far as challenges, there'll be no surprises on that. It's you know, lack of common goals, elimination of backlog. So you know, how do you keep up with everything? Issues getting work done, lack of records, and a whole bunch of stuff. And then of course the bad data that's out there. I'll go to the punchline though, because that's really I don't want to, like I said, dive too deep in this call. But you know, what were the preferred methodologies? And there was a bit of a mix. So some people said, you know, look, I kind of would like to do this by email, and some people said I'd like to do this by, you know, real time. You know, let's have an online real time solution. And other people said, you know, I'm not really on things like Facebook that much, so I'd really prefer calls. So I think here's where I'll just say my piece and then seek to get people's points of views, and you'll see me typing some taking notes. Is I think what I'd like to propose is that we have a call and we also have a site, and you are welcome to choose which one you want to join. So what I'd like to get some feedback on here is is that okay? And we can talk about some site options later if that's okay. B, if you would like to do the calls, what is the frequency that you think as a group you might want to get together? Are you thinking, you know, monthly might be too frequent, quarterly, semi-annually, monthly, you know, whatever it is. So I'll be curious. Feel free to speak up and give me your views, and I'll just take some notes.
I'll jump in. Why don't we figure out what the objectives are first, and then we
Just
can
gonna
find out what process we follow to get to that point. I like to
Right.
hear other people what their concerns are and what they want to get out of this, sharing ideas. And to me, that seems like an appropriate starting point. What are your challenges? I don't think you mentioned, Sean, the results of that survey, but at least get a sense from people online what you want to get out of this, and then how to achieve that strategically. And I'll be quiet.
I walked through the two basic things that we got back from the survey as far as the what they want out of it. But now would be a good time for people who either didn't see the survey, didn't get it for some reason, or just haven't had the time to respond. Maybe if you want to add to that. And as a reminder, sort of the two things that people were saying, the themes were exchanging ideas and increasing learning. So collaboration, exchange, and learning.
Those would be my objectives.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Hello, I'm Lou Johnson. I'm the Southeast Regional Commissioner for COSCA. And I also work with Emma Sakers, who's the Mid-Atlantic Regional Commissioner for COSCA. We had started talking last year at Grandfather Mountain. The two of us were there at the COSCA tent answering questions. And one of the factors that we started to consider was there were programming at like an event like Grandfather Mountain that had a short COSCA meeting, and there was very little other, as Bart has pointed out, very little other interaction with COSCA with the clans that were represented at an event like that. So one of the things that we started talking about was, could we do something like, you know, a get together at a games for people, clan people who were either on genealogy committees or leading the genealogy for clans to be able to get together and do a face-to-face kind of forum, but then also carry that over to an online forum and a mixture of, perhaps calls like this when needed, or on some kind of a regular basis to be able to discuss some hot issues, but then also be able to do like a discussion forum rather than like email, a discussion forum that could be limited in access, would then be archivable, so we could then and have multiple threads. So if you had a thread about tools and experience with genealogy tools, you could do that, or genealogy research sources, you could do that, and be able then to perhaps at some of these other Highland games be able then to also have something else for clan people to do other than just to come and do a howdy, how are you event at a Highland Games. So I think Emma sent something out to most people that was registered. And we've got some time scheduled at Grandfather Mountain, and I'm going to pass out an invitation for people, for clan people that are interested to come down on Saturday after the other COSCA meeting on Friday, and to sit and talk about some of the things that are issues, and also then to start creating a cadre. We want a collaborative cadre of resource people that can then interact and be able to be supportive and do this under the auspices in some way, shape, or form of COSCA, to be able to make, as Bart said, a service that we are providing to clan societies. Take it away, Bart.
I want to disagree a bit. I think this forum is for clan genealogists. The role of COSCA is to support clan societies, not necessarily individuals who we would then encourage to contact their genealogists, all of you all here. So it's great that we, for example, have the Find Your Clan service. So the point is to get local clan people to connect and then become members of the clan societies that we represent. So this forum, I believe, based on what the goals that Sean and Chris have expressed to me, should be for clan genealogists. There are, of course, 150 games nationwide. Of course, everyone who goes to Grandfather think that's the best game and the only games. Uh, but I think that the clan representatives at each games were the best resources for clan people, as Lou put it. So I think this is a think tank of those of us or who are at clans and create our environment, because every clan, as I've just learned, approaches their genealogy services differently. And we want to encourage the clan folks, the potential members, to connect and join with their clan. This should be the clan genealogist, and that's my perspective. And
that's exactly the people that we wanted to target at Grandfather Mountain.
I have a
the
question.
genealogists are not going to Grandfather Mountain. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's all right. Go ahead. I have a question, and I hope I'm in tune with what this discussion is intending to be. But I'm here along with my partner in the genealogy thing for Clan Elliott. I serve as president, Peter's a second vice president, and together we're working on trying to resurrect our genealogy program. And we found that our needs, while I think it's great what we're talking about in terms of resources, collaboration, and learning, we're just trying to find the structure and the platform to make this all happen.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm really interested for us, anyway. And we've had some good direction now. We've had some of you may know Judy Moon, genealogist that is up in Michigan and quite involved in the genealogy societies nationwide, and she's helped us with some direction. But I tell you what, folks, it was a struggle just to even find a platform that we could even put together and begin to try to use. So it seems to me, and I don't know what other clans are in that same in that same position where they don't really know where to start and they're not doing anything because they don't have the fundamentals, they don't have the structure to make it work. And so it seems to me that that would be a great place for this group to kind of start is can we just find out what's out there and what's being used? Is it TNG? Is it WikiTree? Is it something else? What kind of platforms are out there? Because that's going to define a lot of what we end up eventually doing, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point, and thank you for that. And the one thing I realized I didn't mention, and I'll give Chris a lot of credit for putting this list together. She did more of it than I did, but we had sent out, and I think the answer, because Bart, you're talking about expectations, I think the answer from the people that responded at least was all of those. And again, I know some of you didn't get it, but we said, from the topics, which ones would you find of interest? And Jim, I think we're covering you a little bit, but you have a slightly different spin on it, which I like. So I'll come back to that in a second. The topics we had were record keeping, website management, website content, communications, DNA and one name projects, job roles and descriptions, articles and other content for clan societies, future-proofing the genealogist position, documenting methodologies and standards. The how do you get started is a good question because I don't have to look back too long ago when I was just like, what do I do? And I chose Ancestry personally, but I actually did not choose that for the clan. Without answering the question, I think what I'd like to say, I could see another purpose of this group is welcoming in new genealogists to help them hit the ground running for the clans. And I would add that as another kind of expectation and topic in my mind. And I do feel like that's an area that we could help in.
Yeah, I think, what Jim just said and what you've been talking about, it's all very interesting, but it's all very overwhelming because Jim and I are not full time in this.
Right.
It's just part of our life. And so you mentioned earlier about keeping up, already, I think I'll speak for Jim, we're struggling to move ahead with this project with us being part-time volunteers.
Yeah.
And so I think there's different levels. Obviously Clan Buchanan and Clan Logan, you're up here somewhere. There are others here, and there are a lot of us, I think, are here. We're trying to learn what the best practices are, and so we can gradually move up, but within the scope of the resources we have.
That's fair. And understandable. And I think that is I've kind of got that. So it's not even just starting from the ground up, but it's also how do you prioritize in a sense, if I was to look at that. Because the reality is yeah, if you're two part-time people that don't have a tremendous amount of time, if you don't prioritize, then you're dead in the water. You just get nothing done.
So I'm going to hop in here and offer a couple of things sort of from my own experience. The vast majority of nonprofit groups that I've had to deal with are all volunteer. And 9 times out of 10, a few people in the group will step up and go, yep, I can do that. And they get burnt out because they're the only ones who ever say, I can do that. So it can be really helpful if you can find some other volunteers who are willing to work with you. And yeah, you are part-time. Just because I work at it like a maniac doesn't mean everybody else has to. But part-time, you can still accomplish a lot. And as for platforms, if money is an issue, you go to familysearch.org. It's free.
Yeah.
And they claim to have the largest record set in the world. It's not always the easiest platform to search on because much of what's there is not indexed. However, it's free. I personally keep software on my computer. I've been using Legacy Family Tree since the late 1990s. I happen to like that one. It's cheap. It's only $35 for a deluxe version. And I keep everything on my computer as well as in the Ancestry family tree. So there are many ways to get started. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, you break things down into their smallest pieces. You start looking, you pick one person and you work on that one person. And a lot of people, from my experience with members, a lot of people want to be connected to that famous, important person. So they begin looking at that person and try to work their way forward. You always have to start with yourself and work backwards. You have to document everything. You have to find real documentation. That shaky little leaf on Ancestry, it doesn't really mean anything. You have to look at the documentation and see what your interpretation is of it. So if that's something that we can help you all with, just the getting started, the not feeling so overwhelmed, how to break it down into smaller pieces, maybe our thoughts should be along the lines of, let's see, this month we're going to do a Zoom and we're going to talk about that one thing. Next month, we're going to do a Zoom and we're going to talk about how do you write a source citation, which, by the way, I absolutely hate doing. They are the bane of my existence.
Do you know what I discovered?
What did you find?
Chat GPT will write a pretty good source citation for you.
It will, but you won't fool a professional genealogist with it.
No.
And I won't claim to be a professional. I took the Boston University Genealogical Research Certificate program in 2012. They just discontinued it this year. But there's a lot that hobbyist genealogists don't really recognize goes into doing this research. You have to be able to critically analyze the documentation that you're looking at. I can't tell you how many things I have seen where somebody's grandmother was got a date of birth that's before the grandchild, or after the grandchild rather. There are just so many things that you have to really knuckle down and look very hard at. I was very lucky to have worked with the previous genealogist, so I sort of eased into this program. And because we just had a chief elected after more than 350 years, he had a genealogist who went through all of those historic documents to present to the Lord Lion Court. And I had that all to begin to build the clan genealogy on. So that was a real bonus.
Yeah. Source citation is also something that I find to be boring and tedious and all of that, but it does lend a tremendous amount of credence to your work. So, because other genealogists want to look at your data and say, well, it's another junk tree. But if you can show all that stuff, then you can get them off that ledge. So,
I want to know how you explain to a member that no, you're not connected to so and so that was born in 1300. I've got a member now that just told me that, and I'm thinking, so I tried to diplomatically ask him for his documentation so that I can help other members, but I haven't gotten it yet, and I don't expect it.
I was joking with someone yesterday where I was out at my friend was playing. Their band was playing, and I was chatting with his wife, and I said, I think my number one job lately is to tell people, sorry, you're not related to the Logan Barons of Restalrig. And to answer your question, the way I do it is, I'm not the arbiter. People will write and say, good news, I joined your clan because I am this 8th grandson of Robert Logan, the Baron of Restalrig. And what I'll say is sounds very exciting. My question is would you like to get that, clearly documented so that you're sure about it? warning, you might find out that you're not, but you have some other exciting ancestors. Otherwise, if it's, if you're happy with your family legend as it is, I'm not here to tell you otherwise. And so that's sort of the way I do it.
Yeah.
I'll leave you in peace and let you tell everyone that you're related to, Robert Stewart too. So
I think so as
That's
to
a,
not be overwhelming. I think the idea of a quarterly meeting makes a whole lot of sense. And I appreciate this last few minutes of discussion because I can see where, as a clan, and we have an inactive clan of genealogists, by the way. I mean, that's why Peter and I are working on trying to resurrect this a bit. But I certainly can see where a quarterly meeting with groups from other clans under the umbrella of COSCA can get together and meet and feel like they're not alone. And understand that they're having the same questions, that their questions are probably multiplied many fold. And it would just be a great element of support for someone new coming in. And frankly, I think it would be a recruiting tool for Peter and I to sit here and go to somebody and say, listen, if you are interested in doing this, here's all the support that you can get that you can find online. But guess what? COSCA has a quarterly meeting where the genealogists from other clans get together, and you can talk about the difficulties and the plans and the issues that you've got from a clan genealogist standpoint. And you're not fighting this battle alone. So I really like that concept. I really like that idea, and I really think it could be of great value.
I
I
think
know
we
as
also have to understand that being a clan genealogist is very different from being a standard everyday genealogist. We have some challenges that the average family researcher is not finding. Firstly, most of us are researching from a different country, and there's documentation that is in the war chests of many of the chiefs of these clans that we may never see. So it can be difficult to make those definitive connections. And in some cases, we're just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah. That's like Clan Forsyth was dead for 300 plus years. So many of the documents between the old Forsyths and the new Forsyths is, there's no way to connect it. But last year, I started researching everything I could find on the ancient clans, starting back, I think 1297 is where I started. Every source we could find, we documented it, we have it in a PDF file.
Mhm.
So if somebody's asked me about a specific person back then, I can just search for it and give them the information. So, but connecting to them, we can't do that.
I'm
Never
overwhelmed
say you
by the
can't.
depth of knowledge that y'all have. I have two frustrations. One is, and you get this all the time, I get email as president of the Clan Forbes Society, I get people who email me with their whole genealogy. And then they say, well, can you help me with this? And it's like, I'm not a genealogist. We have tools online that you can go. And we started House of Forbes tree on ancestry.com. And as you've found, people just sort of blend their trees with us without any documentation. So I like to hear and maybe do a topic-based quarterly meeting, but I don't know how to encourage their enthusiasm by still maintaining some standards. For example, the ethics from the Board for Certification of Genealogists. How do we apply that at the clan level? That's something I'm grasping with. I've been the
Yeah.
default genealogist. We fortunately just had Barbara Ball come on board. She's actually studied genealogy at the University of Strathclyde. She actually wrote a survey. If you go to the COSCA website in 2022, you'll see the Clan Society Survey on Genealogists, which is really helpful to kind of frame this to to see what we can do to help each other. I'm just at a loss. I'm so glad she's on board. But again, as COSCA, I want to, as we develop the resources to report them at COSCA, and then so each of the genealogists come on board, they have a toolbox that they can refer to. And as a last point, I want to encourage you to that the younger generation is interested in genealogy. As part of the youth engagement project, I've been engaging with in-depth discussion with a number of people under the age of 30. And many of them are engaged through their family. So there is hope. But we like to transfer the knowledge that you all have with
Yeah.
a toolbox that will help them to continue your work.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's developing that toolbox. And if I could, again, unfortunately, there are the experts, there are the middle ground people, and there are the neophytes. And I put myself in the neophytes, and some of the advanced people may not get as much out of this as we at the other end will get. But I could see a next meeting being one, Christine, or Sean talking about their toolbox, talking about how they've developed it, but how their members interact with that toolbox. And that would be a huge piece for us because, we did some work with TNG. It's sort of fallen by the wayside. We've recently begun talking to WikiTree. We've looked at everything, but we're still struggling to develop the toolbox. So that was a great word you threw in there. And if we could have, and again, maybe, if we do this on a quarterly basis, you could label it, this is an introductory session. This is a mid-level, this is advanced, and people could pick and choose where they join. Does that make some sense?
I have found through my interactions with members as well as people who simply throw a message out asking about their genealogy, a large part of my job description is educating, is teaching people how to do good research. And I kind of harp on those disciplines from the BCG, and everything is about making sure that whatever you add to your tree, you must be able to validate it. You have to be able to say, here's the document that proves this thing belongs in this place. And it's something that hobbyist genealogists don't necessarily do because they don't know any better. We've been kind of sold a bill of goods by the genealogy platforms, the big corporations. You just click that shaky leaf or you take that DNA test and all your answers will be at your fingertips. Not how it works. It's hard work.
And to make matters more difficult, even if you have a good source citation, do you have the right John Forbes or
oh my gosh,
or Patrick Buchanan, right?
Oh my gosh.
Everyone is either James, William, or Hugh Logan. So it's you say, okay, I've got in Ayrshire, I'm going to look for John Logan in Ayrshire, but in a 20-year period, and Scotland's People comes back with 14 pages.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, but 2 or 3 for sure, and it's a lot.
I was working on one yesterday that was like that.
Yeah.
I'm the Clan Forsyth genealogist, also the newsletter editor, and also the co-manager of the Forsyth Y-DNA project. So I kind of getting all of it. But in the newsletter, I always try to emphasize using source citations. And people probably get tired of me harping on it in the newsletter, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
and I make
really
sure that the
to.
articles have source citations.
You really have to be that kind of genealogist because it's part of our job description. We're teaching the people how to do the genealogy so that they have the most benefit. Now, some of you folks, as volunteers, I know when I started in my position, there was no job description. And I kept asking the EC and the chief and anybody I could. So what are your expectations for this job? What do you want me to do? What's the goal? And ultimately, I didn't get a good response. I didn't get much of a response. In 2023, the EC asked everybody to write a duty statement. And I wrote out a fairly extensive one. And I just this past week revised it. It's a living document. So I would suggest that those of you who are struggling with what do I do, how do I do it, when should I do this, think about what you believe your duty to statement should be, and actually write something out, write a little outline and say, this is what I think I should be doing. This is what I think I should be doing. This is how I think I should be doing it, and work with that. Anybody who wants to see the one I wrote, throw me an email and I'll send it out. I'm happy to send it out. There's no, I don't know if you can actually access it on our website. I know in the Warden area you can find it. How do we do that educating process? On Clan Buchanan's website, I have a genealogy page where I document things that you should do, sources that you can be using, ways that you should write citations. And I do actually lift from Elizabeth Schoen Mills some of her diagrams on how to do the process. Feel free to go to that website and check those things out. If they're helpful to you, I probably got more.
If I was
want to say,
to
yes,
yeah,
I want all of that. And in fact, you mentioned toolkit. That's how Sean and I started talking because I asked for him to reprint an article he had in their magazine about the toolkits for genealogy. And we published it in April of 2024. And we've been having these conversations since then, trying to support that. And that I would love that. And another factor too is I know that some genealogists do not have the support of their clan president or their clan chief. And I can speak to that. I want to be entirely supportive of whatever the genealogist wants to do. And I've heard that there's been some discussion between the president and as a president who's kind of subbing in as genealogist, I can speak to that. I support whatever you come up with, and that's another factor. But I'd like to see the job description. I like to see how we deal with relative information that people say they get from WikiTree. And so, yeah.
I think if I was to summarize what I've heard is let's start by having quarterly calls. Let's make the next call a getting started call. And Chris and I can maybe collaborate a bit on that. I think it's more than just a toolbox because I think the tool that you use depends on what your goals are, and we can help to help talk about goals and stuff like that. So, I mean, you know, sometimes your goal is to be very light on genealogy, but let people know who were the former clan chiefs and when they lived, and that requires one other thing. If you want to help people be able to say, "Yep, I'm related to the clan chiefs," well, then yeah, you need all your source citations and stuff. But not to get too deep on that, I think that's a good starting point. I do think I want to continue, and I'll probably keep saying this is look at some way that we could communicate with each other real time so that, you know, Peter, I'll pick on you for a second. If you're saying, hey, look, I'm being asked to do this thing. Does anyone have any really good ideas on how to do that? I think there could be value. I will be transparent on my goals. I mean, I think the more we can be united as clan genealogists on how we do things, the more credence it gives to the way we do things, and it sort of creates a bit of a momentum of its own. And you could sort of point to say, well, this is the clan genealogist standard, and it would be great someday if we could sort of say that, even and it could be real simple to start with, right? It doesn't have to be super complex, but it could be real simple, and that's my sort of secret goal on doing this beyond just learning and all of that is do we as clan genealogists get a united voice to the Court of the Lord Lion if we're trying to get someone certified and stuff like that, because right now I'm a pretty lonely voice. I'm not trying to recruit you all to agree with me. Don't I don't want to say that, but I think the more united we can be in the way we do things, the better it'll be. So I'd like to propose. Go ahead, Marcia.
I like the idea of the quarterly meetings, and also maybe using Discord.
Yeah. There are different tools out there. I mean, there's Facebook sites. You can use Discord as a site, which I find to be really valuable with WikiTree. WhatsApp is probably the simplest one to do, and it's probably the least barriers to entry. And it just starts with hey, we're all on WhatsApp. Put out a message out there, and people can respond to that message whenever they want to. Chris and Bart, maybe I'll chat with you about that. And I think what I'd like to do is just because we're in a bit in overtime, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, is let's respond to everyone who attended and those who expressed an interest but weren't able to attend, and say this is sort of what we got out of it. This is what we're proposing moving forward. We can talk about when the first quarterly call will be. Doesn't need to be next year; it could be this year. So let's see if we can have it this year. And yeah, that's what I recommend. Go ahead, Bart.
Yeah, just FYI, COSCA has submitted an application for funding from the Scottish government through the Scottish Connections Fund. And what I proposed was a COSCA Academy of online classes with both online with Zoom calls, but also there's actually a classroom function that our website maintains where you can go on and do an interactive class and have a certificate issued. And so hopefully they'll be responsive to that, but that's also an option. We can actually have classes online after which we can generate a certificate. One more tool in the genealogist toolbox for you to consider.
Be cool. All right. Any other pressing stuff before I let you go? I can smell my fajitas cooking in the other room. So
I no other comments other than I'm really pleased to see this happening. So thank you for the effort, Bart and Sean and Chris. And I look forward to seeing where this can go, because I know Peter and I think would gain a lot of help by having this kind of support. So that'd be great.
I think what I'd like to see is that this is a collaboration, not just amongst clans, but amongst clan genealogists, and support, talking. Sometimes we don't necessarily need support. We just need to chat. We need to say, you know what the stupidest thing is I ever heard of? We need to be able to get these things out in the open and discuss them and say, oh, thank God, I'm not as crazy as I thought I was.
yeah.
This can be a overwhelming, not so much overwhelming. It can take over your life. I know it's done it for me, and I willingly submitted to it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of benefit from it, and I derive a lot of pleasure from the research that I do. And I'd rather see the other clan genealogists getting that same sort of pleasure rather than, tearing their hair out. It's I'm not even going to talk about that. So to me, this is about us kind of getting friendly, getting to know each other, and bringing our problems as well as our successes into this little forum, and hopefully we grow it. We get more genealogists to collaborate, to talk about whatever is going on in their sphere of influence.
And I mean, originally I was hoping, like I said, just a few people would show up at least, and then we could grow from there. But this is a pretty good group to grow from. So I'm enthused.
I'd like to hear from the people who've been quiet. Alberta, other folks?
Here you're going to call on me. Yeah, I really appreciate this. I can't remember if I put it in my questionnaire or not, but we do have a clan genealogist. He lives in Wales, and he is not helpful at all. I had asked many years, over 10 years ago, for help on verifying this line that I found. We had this gentleman that came over in the 1770s to upstate New York, and he essentially blew me off. And I've since discovered that his own line went from Scotland to Northern Ireland, which many clans did, and he's solely focused on Northern Ireland. And if you're not, my line came directly over. We didn't go to Northern Ireland. And so I have found out from other clan members that he's the same way, and he's just not helpful at all. So what I'm trying to do for Clan Hannah USA, we have a large number of members that we've talked to at the games, like similar to Grandfather Mountain, that we're looking for similar, like, oh, you're from Ohio? We were from Ohio. Well, how about, and somebody else in Texas started a Y-DNA project also. So I'm trying to pull us together better in the US and then maybe unseat him. I don't know, but we'll see. So I'm really excited by this. This is awesome.
Other folks want to speak up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say,
I don't want to echo Roberta's comments, but I experienced the same thing she did, which is why I'm the genealogist. When he died, I raised my hand because I knew it needed to be better. Those of us dealing with folks in North America, the members of our societies, will find in general that most of our members can trace their ancestry back to 6 or 7 clans. So having, I have the McLaren database. We have many Buchanans in there. As we develop our camaraderie in this forum, I think we have an opportunity to start making connections. What have the McLarens got on Buchanans?
Yep.
Yeah, they were at war for centuries, but they were also neighbors, so they intermarried.
Yeah.
And I have Buchanan ancestors, I have McLaren ancestors, I have McGregor ancestors. And we all have that among our membership. And helping them to find that would be a plus if we can find a way to do it.
Yep.
Awesome. Lorraine, jump back in.
Yeah, actually, Art pretty much said what I was about to say, but I'll just take a different tack on that. I'm here primarily for the collaboration. Some of my greatest research breakthroughs have been collaborating with genealogists from other clans. I won't name names because they're not here. Maybe we can get them in, but the same idea. When I come across a Buchanan who marries into a McNabb family, I want to be able to contact the Buchanan genealogist and see if I'm on the right track. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Anyone else?
I'm good.
I just wanted to add to the mix of doing quarterly online. I really think we need to take a look at doing something like an online discussion forum, something that persists, something that people could go back to archives, they could go back and look at particular topics, like a topic about tools, selecting tools, how these tools fit a particular need, and help. And within that, then these people that sign up for the forum, for the discussion forum, then can be connected then, because you could reach out to that person that did the post and ask for greater clarification, and then you could get a one-on-one collaboration. So as a retired professor that ran discussion forums for years and years and years, I know that works. Just my 2 cents for.
I like that. As I said, I've been ringing the bell for some kind of way for us to get connected. So,
Bart, does your website have, this is an antique thought, does your website have a chat board? Chat boards used to be very popular. I don't know if they are so much anymore.
Yes, we have a member forum as part of the structure of the website. I've not been promoting that because someone has to administer that. And so I do a whole lot of everything with COSCA. I do a whole lot of everything with Clan Forbes. I have projects here. I could set it up to have a forum for genealogists, the clan genealogists, and someone can manage that. But that is easily a part of the function of the website. We use the website manager Wix. And so I can create that. That also creates the courses. So yes, we can do that. And we do that. We just don't promote it because I can't manage it.
So there's certainly a possibility that's readily available.
Yes.
Yep. Anything else from anyone else?
No, great stuff.
All right. With that, I'm going to probably wish you all a good night and hope you have yourselves a good evening and had a good weekend.
You too.
Thanks again for doing this.
Thank you.
All right.
It was
Thank
nice
you.
to
Nice
meet
meeting
all
you
of
all.
you.